part 2 of our 4-part series on coherence in IELTS writing, and we're going to be focusing on task 1 of the academic module. So before we start, please have a look at the vocabulary list provided so that you can follow the examples that I'm going to give you today. If you remember last time, we spoke about coherence and what coherence means. So I gave you some examples of numbers. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know the next number will be 5. 2, 4, 6, you know the next number will be 8. Those are coherent. If I say 1, 9, 3, 5, 6, then those numbers don't make sense, they're incoherent. So we're trying to put things here in a logical order in our writing. Okay, so we spoke last time about how to do that by moving from general information to more specific information, details, examples, and those types of things. So today I'm going to talk about how to do that better in writing task 1 of the academic module. The easiest way to improve in this area is to use a well-defined essay structure. Okay? And there's several different structures that you can use, but I find that this one is a particularly good structure. Okay? So for writing task 1 in academic, you'll have either 3 or 4 paragraphs, depending on the information that you're given. Paragraph 1 will be an introduction. Paragraph 2, 3, and maybe 4 will provide details and examples and more specific information. Okay, so let's look at this closer, okay, and use an example to explore this a little bit more. Okay, so here we have a model question about global smartphone sales and profits in 2018, covering 4 different companies. Okay, so we're looking at the market share and how many phones they sold and how much profit they made in 2018. Okay, if we look closely at the information, we can see that the companies that sold the most phones and had the largest market share were Samsung and Huawei. Samsung with 40% and 75 million handsets sold, and Huawei with 30% of the market and 56 million units sold. And then we've got profits over here. So surprisingly, even though Apple did not have the biggest market share, it had the biggest profit. Okay. So we've now had a quick look at the information. Now let's go back to the structure that we're looking at in writing task 1. So 3 or 4 paragraphs, introduction, detail, detail, detail. In your introduction, you want to introduce the topic of the entire question. In this case, the topic is sales and profits for 2018. Okay. In your overview, which is next, so we have a topic. In your introduction, we have a topic and an overview. What you're trying to do is you're trying to help the reader to interpret the information and form a mental picture of what's going on in the figure. So, your overview can talk about trends, it can talk about categories, it can talk about links and associations, or it can talk about interesting features. In this case, we have an interesting feature, which is that Apple earned more money than than Samsung and Huawei, even though it didn't have such a big market share. That's the most interesting feature here. Okay, so our introduction will provide general information, and it will sound like this. Okay, the figures provided show global smartphone sales and profits for 4 different companies in 2018. Okay, so we've covered the entire question and we've given a very general description, the overview. So Samsung and Huawei sold more handsets and had a larger market share than Apple and Hippo, but surprisingly Apple made a larger profit than Samsung and Huawei. Okay, that's our introduction. Now, how do we do our detailed paragraphs? This is where it gets interesting. So in your introduction, you talk about sales and profits. Now what we do is we break the information up into different pieces. So in our next paragraph, we're not going to talk about sales and profits, we're just going to talk about sales. Okay? And then in paragraph 3, we'll talk about profits. So paragraph 2, what are the parts of our detailed paragraphs? We need a general statement that announces the subtopic, sales, and then we need to give examples, but we don't want to list all of the information. We usually just want to list the biggest and the smallest. Okay, so let's see how this sounds. Okay. Alright, so in 2018, Samsung and Huawei had a larger market share and sold more handsets than Vivo and Oppo. Okay. And then we say Samsung accounted for 40% of market share and sold 75 million units, compared to Oppo, which accounted for 20% of the market and sold 54 million units. Finish. Subtopic 2, profits. How do we say that? We say that despite selling less handsets than Samsung and Huawei, Oppo made a larger profit than either two of those companies. Then we give details. We say Oppo earned $41 billion compared to Samsung, which earned $39 billion, and Huawei, which earned $18 billion. Okay. So in each paragraph, so in the entire essay, we go from general to specific. We go from our introduction to detail. And inside each paragraph, we also go from general to specific. So we've got a subtopic statement and examples, subtopic statement, examples. Let's have a look at another model question that I've prepared for you. This is about UK government health spending in 2009 and 2019. And it's about spending on 6 different health subsectors. I want you to have a look at the information here. I want you to identify the overall topic. I want you to break the topic into different subtopics. And then I want you to identify either trends, categories, links and associations, or interesting features for your overview. And then I want you to try and put it together in the same way that I've done in the previous question. If you feel ready for that, pause the recording now and do your writing, and then we'll come back once you've done that. Otherwise, just continue listening. Okay. So, the topic in this case, we've already mentioned UK government health spending in 6 areas in 2009 and 2019. In this case, my overview will be saying that most spending on most areas decreased, and in fact only increased in 2 areas. Okay, overview done. That's the most general description of the information that we can give. Now, what we do for our subtopics is we break the question up into areas of spending that decreased and areas of spending that increased. So that gives us an extra 2 paragraphs. All right. So, subtopic 1. Spending, UK government health spending increased in 2 areas, namely hospital care and primary care. The largest increase occurred in hospital care. Right, so there we've got our subtopic general statement, and now we're going to give the specific detail in the next part. So we will say spending on hospital care increased from 20 to 33% during this time. Meanwhile, spending on primary care increased only slightly. Okay, that's the end of paragraph 2. Paragraph 3, we need a subtopic statement for the areas where spending decreased. So subtopic statement is UK government health spending decreased in the areas of specialist care, allied health care, rehabilitation and medication. General statement. The largest fall occurred in the area of specialist care. Okay, so that's all general information, and now we're going to the more detailed information. So we can say, for example, in the area of specialist care, spending fell from 15% to 10%. Finish. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson on coherence in task 1 of the academic module. And please remember to tune in for part 3, where we'll be talking about task 1 of the general training module. If you're doing the academic section of the IELTS test, then you can move on to part 4, which is on writing task 2, coherence in writing task 2. Thank you very much. Happy studies, and I'll see you next time.